Hello, welcome to Armchair Sports Talk. My name is Sterling Brown, and we're talking about the NFC South. This is a 10-minute topic where we will talk about each team in the NFC South. We'll start from the worst and we'll work our way up to we think will be first place. We'll look at the projected win totals and analyze the interesting aspects of every team. So let's get to it. The bottom of the NFC South, we'll start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what we'll do is we'll look at their win total, projected at 6.5. And we'll just kind of talk our way through it. We're not going to get too in-depth on the schedule. We're not going to look too far ahead. We're just going to make some fun predictions. 6.5 actually seems a little high, in my opinion. The NFC South's really competitive with the Saints, Panthers, and Falcons. And the Buccaneers are changing coaching staff to Bruce Arians. And Bruce Arians is going to have Jameis Winston, a full season of Jameis Winston. So hopefully he's able to keep his head on straight, make some good decisions, and, not just produce from a fantasy aspect, because he's actually going to be very underrated on the fantasy side. He is ranking outside the top 10 for fantasy quarterbacks. And with them playing from behind for most of the time, and also with the Bruce Arians coaching change, there's no reason why Jameis Winston, assuming no injuries, can't finish well within the top 10. He's potentially could be a top 5 quarterback, as much as Bruce Arians likes to throw and as many points as they should be behind. They also have a lot of weapons. So they do have Mike Evans, of course, returning. They also have Chris Godwin. They believed in him so much that they allowed Deshaun Jackson to go back to Philadelphia. And then, of course, O.J. Howard, who's just great blocking, and he's also a great receiver, they found out. They're bringing back Cameron Brate, so they have 2 tight ends that can catch the ball. And they're going to bring back veteran Peyton Barber, who didn't really perform too well, but he's a veteran presence, and hopefully they can develop Ronald Jones a little bit more in the running game. But as we look at the Buccaneers, I think it starts and ends with Jameis Winston. His biggest hurdle is going to be, between his ears. He sometimes gets in a lot of trouble off the field, happened in college, happened in the NFL, and the good thing is we haven't heard anything about it this season. So hopefully he's able to focus on football, and he should put up some really interesting stats. So we got Jameis Winston and the Buccaneers. I'd say going under the 6.5-point win total, but I think, earning some nice stats that will allow him to be in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform for maybe another contract extension. So after the Buccaneers, we go, and as you can tell by my red Falcon shirt here, unfortunately, I don't think the Falcons are going to do as well as I hope. Their win total is projected at 8.5, so they're projected actually to finish second. I do think they're going to be closer to third. Falcons had a lot of injuries last year, but one thing about Matt Ryan is when he has a new coaching staff, whether it's offensive coordinator, head coach, or both, he does tend to struggle a little bit in his first year. So I know he's a veteran, and he should hopefully have overcome any slight changes in coaching personnel. But I'm a little nervous about the Falcons. I do think that it's nice to have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Sanu. They're more than competent. They're going to be the top complement of receivers in the NFL. But just over the last couple of years, being a Falcons fan, I've seen them, unfortunately, find different ways to disappoint. I don't want that to be true, but I do have to acknowledge it. I think that the most interesting piece to me is not going to be their most consistent. It's going to be Devontae Freeman, the running back. They let Tevin Coleman go in free agency, so he's with the 49ers now. There's less competition behind Freeman, but with his injury history, I think that could be a problem. If Freeman has anything that takes him out for a period of time, there's no consistency behind him. And if you're able to predict against what Matt Ryan and the Falcons are going to do in the passing game, then you're pretty much going to be able to shut them down, and it's just going to be a defensive battle, and we haven't proven to win consistently in those close games or, unfortunately, in those blowouts, as I referenced the Super Bowl. But hopefully my Falcons are able to prove me wrong. I'd love to be incorrect about them, but I see that 8.5 win total, and I don't think it's bad. It's a great number, in fact. I wouldn't bet it. If I had to choose, I'm going to go with my heart, and I'll say over at 9, but it would not surprise me if they finished 8-8, unfortunately. Hopefully they're able to stay healthy and get 9-7, and we just don't know what that's going to be like in the NFC. I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive. But going from the Falcons over to the Panthers now, the Panthers' projected win total is 8. And if you saw the other show, you'll know that the Panthers are a betting favorite, in my opinion, just because their odds are so great to win the Super Bowl. Other teams like the Falcons are going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20-1 as far as a payout to win the Super Bowl. But the Panthers are 45-1 on odds to win. And I think that's just a little too enticing to pass up. Their projected win total is 8. And I think they're going to go over. I don't like making bets on the win total because the payout's not significant enough and your money's tied up all season. But with the win total being 8, just gives us an idea on where they should be. So over 8 wins for the Carolina Panthers. And the player to watch there for me is Curtis Samuel. I think that he's going to be a nice complement to DJ Moore, who should grow in the role and eventually be the number 1. But with him only being in his second year and Samuel in his third year, Samuel's healthy, he's blazing speed. He's performed in limited opportunities, and I think that he complements what Moore can do. And remember when the Panthers went to the Super Bowl and he had Ted Ginn as one of their primary receiving threats? I think Curtis Samuel can be an upgraded version of Ted Ginn. So just to tie together the chances of the Panthers to win the Super Bowl, some of the similarities, they still got Cam Newton. He's hopefully healthy. I do like the Panthers odds at 45-1 to win the Super Bowl. And if they get close, I can look at hedging opportunities. But we have an imaginary $100 that we're playing with this season, and I have 2 of those imaginary dollars on the Panthers at 45-1. So I'm going to not be cheering for them, but I'll be able to say I told you so when they squeak into the playoffs, and if they're able to get a run, be a little profitable there too. So keep your eye on, for fantasy purposes, Curtis Samuel for the Panthers. And then I do think the Saints are going to take the division again. I think they did a good job of reloading. They lost Mark Ingram and they brought in Latavius Murray. I think Drew Brees is going to continue to produce. He'll play smart. He's getting up there in age, but he's younger than Brady, and he's breaking records. And there's no threat, in my opinion. I think the team did really good to build up strong lines, both offensively and defensively. Their defense with Lattimore in the secondary and Cameron Jordan and a few other pieces, they're just very consistent and strong. I think every position just about is no worse than average. So there's going to be most teams where they have a few below average players, but I do think that the Saints did a pretty good job on being able to return to form. And if you remember correctly, their form was the NFC Championship game, losing on a very poorly missed call, pass interference. So with the Saints, I mean, they have a lot of weapons. Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees, we all know these names. But the one that I'm actually going to be looking at is Latavius Murray. Everybody's going to be focused on Alvin Kamara with Mark Ingram leaving. I don't see any reason why the Saints are going to try to run their star running back into the ground by giving him more carries. I mean, I don't know if they could target him anymore, but you want to keep him fresh. They saw how important that was, and that's why it was a priority when Mark Ingram was there. And Latavius Murray isn't necessarily a step backwards. He's a lateral move at worst, and who knows? He actually has a lot of touchdowns that have been scored between the Raiders and the Vikings as he somehow finds a way to make it on the field, whether it's in a timeshare or playing due to injury. So their win total for the Saints is at 10.5. I don't see any reason why they can't get 11 wins. 11-5 seems like a pretty comfortable number for the Saints. They've been able to shake some of the bad home road splits when they leave here recently, when they leave the safety of New Orleans. But going on the road and having a running game like with Kamara and Ingram in the past and Kamara and Murray moving forward, the 10.5-point win total looks like they should be able to achieve it. And these, just a heads up, these win totals are coming from a USA Today article right around the end of July, first part of August. So that's where I'm getting those numbers from. But that pretty much does it for the NFC South recap. So for fantasy purposes, we're going to recap on the Buccaneers. We definitely want to focus on Jameis Winston. He looks like he's set for another breakout year after a couple of down years due to whatever the reason may be. Great combination of opportunity playing from behind, new coaching staff, and a nice arsenal of young weapons. On the Falcons, we're looking at Devontae Freeman. With Tevin Coleman gone, we want to see if Freeman's able to stay healthy and regain the form from about 2 years back. On the Panthers, we're going to be looking at Curtis Samuel. He is primed for great things. He has great opportunity. It's his starting wide receiver role along with DJ Moore. And then for the Saints, we're going to go a little under the radar. So for season-long fantasy, we're looking at Latavius Murray. He's going to be a nice bench addition, complement to Alvin Kamara if you want to use him in a handcuff scenario. So that's a handcuff where you draft the main player you're interested in, and then you also draft the backup who you know will get all the work in the event of an injury. But I think Latavius Murray makes for a great addition to your bench, even in a timeshare, as much as the Saints are going to be most likely playing from ahead and also trying to manage the workload that they give both Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara. On the win total side, the Buccaneers, we project them to be under their 6.5-point win total. The Falcons was literally a toss-up. I'll go on the plus side at 9. Their over-under for wins was 8.5. The Panthers win total was projected at 8. I think they're going to go over that. And the Saints projected win total of 10.5. I think they're going to go over that as well. So that does our 10-minute topic on the NFC South. Look forward to football season and hope you guys enjoy the content. Remember, continue to stay in touch with Armchair Sports. Signing off as Sterling Brown.